Pregame.com.
Welcome back to Pregame.tv. I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo, joined in studio, Ken Thomson, SportsX Radio. We got a little bit to talk to you about in a minute. And
He's come with a vengeance today, huh?
I'm in the middle. I'm screwed today. There's no
and
doubt.
Bryan Leonard, and guys, we got a good thing going here, the three of us, and we got some bets to talk about a little later. We'll talk about that in another video. I got to give you a day in the life of Bryan Leonard. Last Friday night at the UNLV game, in which you called the game for Portland State. Right? We're there, so you know the result. And they have the special promotion this year at UNLV. If they reach 70, free tacos.
There you go.
Okay. Now, Bryan Leonard, we're sitting there. He's holding a ticket on Portland State plus 16.5. The game's just hovering around 17 points. He's got a sweat on him. And I said, I'm looking at him. I go, hang in there. We're hanging there. He goes, I don't know what to root for. I said, what do you mean you're talking about? You got to root for Portland State. He goes, well, I got my ticket, but we need 3 more points out of UNLV so we get free tacos. He was in a moral dilemma of what to do. Bryan, I think the ticket you have is worth more than the tacos. I think you can buy us all tacos with the Portland State.
How did it work out for him?
He lost both.
I lost them both. Well, not only didn't eat, my wife didn't eat either.
There you go. I can relate to that feeling. Yeah. I lost them both with you guys last week.
Yeah, so you could, if they would have got 70, you could have paid us with tacos on that bet. But we don't got enough time to go into the bets. We'll do that in the next one. Let's get to this game. We got Washington at UCLA. Right. And Ken, this is going to be your free pick, but I want to set this up to you and I don't know which side you're. Actually, I think this is. This is your play. Which side you're going to, but you look at it. Do you question at this time of the season motivation on teams? Now, obviously, both teams are going to be bowl bound, but Washington got that elusive, bowl eligible win last week. And in the standings, they're not going to catch Stanford. Where UCLA, they're bowl eligible now too, but it's a much more meaningful game for them because they're 1 game behind Arizona State, setting up in a meaningful game next week if they hold serve this week. Do you factor that kind of stuff into your handicapping?
I do, but I'd say it's still a meaningful game for UCLA even if they lose, because if they beat Arizona head-to-head.
Yeah, but I think they're 1 game behind Arizona State, so they they could draw. If they lose and Arizona State wins, then it's a different.
Doesn't much matter because they're going to lose to USC anyway.
Well, it's true. USC's playing well, and that's going to be a later video. That's why I got you two guys confused on which one was doing the Pac-12 game. But with the look-ahead spot, you're not, UCLA.
Not concerned at this juncture. For me, Washington is a team that is a pretty darn good team. And you look at their 3 losses, and the 3rd loss, I give them a mulligan. And the reason is because they came off 2 incredible games back-to-back against Stanford, which they lost the game by a field goal, outgained Stanford by 210 yards.
Right.
Then they lose the game to Oregon in a game they were only down a touchdown going to the 4th quarter, and they turned the ball over 3 times to Oregon's no turnovers. They actually played Oregon tooth and nail for 3 quarters before losing.
Yeah, and then, like you said, the 3rd game when they played Arizona State, it was the team that's flying under the radar, in the Pac-12. Everybody's talking about Stanford, Oregon, obviously you're supposed to, but here's a team that's playing really good football and kind of pisses me off because I don't like Coach Graham the way he left Pitt. But
I don't believe we're allowed to say pissing me off in this video.
I think you're right. So
we won't say pissing me off.
Do you want to say anything to say about that?
I'll just RJ. I'll be the only one doing videos.
In that case, pissing me off a couple more times.
But they're playing well, and playing 3 weeks in a row. They didn't have a buffer in there with those 3 games,
right.
So that was a murderous schedule because you play in their different styles. One of the styles you played fast-paced, up-tempo. Then you play a smash-mouth game with Stanford, and then another up-tempo game with Arizona State. You know what? We kind of teased around this one enough, and we broke Bryan's balls enough about the free tacos. Let's make this play official. It's yours, Ken.
And I will take a look at the Washington Huskies, and I do understand that UCLA is going to battle Arizona State and USC for the south part of the Pac-12 in order to go on and either play Stanford or Oregon. Oregon still has hopes because USC is at home against Stanford. We'll see how things pan out, but right now Stanford with that head-to-head victory over Oregon sitting okay right now until they go to Southern Cal. I'll actually be at that game with my daughter, homecoming over at the Coliseum. Washington, to me, is a very solid team. like I said, I think they should have beaten Stanford, and Stanford knows they were, not dominated in that game, but Washington went up and down the field on that defense. The last play of the game was a pass from Keith Price that actually got Washington within field goal range. They looked at it. They ended up overruling it, saying it was incomplete. On the one angle that I saw, I didn't see how they could overrule it because it was ruled a catch on the field. Would have set Washington up with a 41-yard field goal, and they still had time to probably take a couple shots at the end zone. But you look at the game against Oregon, like I said, Sankey ran all over the Ducks. They played very well, but they put themselves in the hole with 3 turnovers. You cannot do that against Oregon. Oregon found out you cannot do that against Stanford. UCLA, on the other hand, when they played Stanford, they were dominated. They could not even move the ball, where Washington went up and down the field on that same Stanford defense. So I look at that game as a game of comparison. UCLA, again, could not even get in the end zone against Stanford. They struggled mightily, got dominated. They actually did get a touchdown. They lost the game 24-10, but only had 266 total yards in that game. How about 24 carries for 74 yards? Are you serious? That's not going to get it done. And I think this Washington Husky team under Sarkisian, yes, they've had a decent year. 6-3 is okay. They're bowl eligible. But this team would like to get to a better bowl, and they're good enough to do so. You look at the receivers. They did lose Williams, but they still have Mickens and Smith, and then Safarian Jenkins finally coming on second half of the year. He was suspended. He was banged up at the early parts of the year, but this guy is definitely an NFL tight end. And, of course, Bishop Sankey, I mentioned him, one of the better running backs in the country. For UCLA, Hundley's dynamic. He's solid, but he's been shut down and kind of held within check in a couple of their games, and I don't think he's going to be able to go up and down on this Washington defense. This is a very physical Huskies team, and I don't think UCLA is as physical. You look at the Oregon-UCLA game and you say, wow, they were tied with the Ducks, 14 up at the half, 2 turnovers, 2 short fields. That's it. Second half, when the game was on the line, could they even move the ball? No, they couldn't. We saw Washington move the ball throughout the game on both Oregon and Stanford. So I'll use those 2 comparisons there. I'll also use the Friday night limelight for Sarkisian's boys to look and say, hey, this is a big-time game. Let's show everybody what we're made of. We're right there, up there with Stanford and Oregon as far as the elite in the Pac-12. That's my play, pregame.tv. I know there'll be a lot of naysayers out there that love their UCLA Bruins and saying, Thompson, it's only because you're an SC fan you're going against the Bruins. No, I'll wait until UCLA plays SC straight up for that. That's my play, pregame.tv. Give me the Washington Huskies plus the points, about a field goal against UCLA at the Rose Bowl.
All right, great stuff from Ken. As usual, take Washington as his free pick. We're coming right back with another college football game. I don't know how this one snuck in there. Bryan wants to take a look at Memphis at South Florida. That's up next, pregame.tv.